The Reverend Billy Graham has passed away. He was 99. He died in his home in North Carolina. Here for some context is the Oklahoman's religion editor, Carla Hinton. Carla, thanks for joining us this morning.
Sure.
You are reporting on this story. You met him before, and you have 5 quotes that we can find on newsok.com and in upcoming editions of the Oklahoman. But what was your thoughts and response when you heard the news this morning?
Well, I will be honest with you. The first thing I thought was he was really close to 100.
He's 99 years old.
That's right. He would have turned 100 in November, and not that it meant anything big, but I was kind of hoping that we would get to 100. But
sure.
He has been, I know he's been ill for a little bit of time, and maybe an invalid in some respects.
Some of the stories said in recent years he fought cancer and pneumonia, among
right.
some other ailments.
Right, right. They said his mind was still sharp most of the time, but I know that he had some ailments, so I wasn't surprised.
Well, you've actually met him before, or you had met him before.
Yes, I did. I did meet him. I believe it was the day before the Mission Oklahoma City evangelistic effort started in June of 2003. So I was not quite a year into my beat as religion editor.
You're just out of high school at that point.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much for saying that. And you know, I never met him. I'd seen him on TV, that sort of thing, but he granted me an interview. So I went down to what was then the Ford Center, where
sure.
he was going to be speaking, and there was this room, and they walked me into this room, and it was just him and maybe a couple of other people, and we sat down and talked. Very peaceful.
Yeah.
He had an aura of peace and wisdom. Very nice, very gentlemanly. It was just a really interesting interview, probably one of the most memorable interviews I've ever had.
Interesting. Our producer, Paige Dillard, has pulled some photos from the Oklahoman's archives, and of course we'll have more of that you can find online at newsok.com. Billy Graham, an iconic figure in American history and in religious circles as well.
Sure, sure. Yes, he was known for his fairly simple messages, but the way he presented them, he was fiery, and yet he was also very gentle. He had this loving way about him. When he was here in 2003, I was really amazed that he was able to speak to the younger generation, and thousands of them crowded forward, you know, when he gave the altar call. And the same thing with the older people at the next service. It was very interesting how he seemed to be able to talk to people at different stages of life. Never judgmental. You wouldn't hear anything judgmental from him at all. He was always preaching a message that said that the Lord was just waiting for the lost to come to him.
It also seems like, and I may be mistaken here, that he never really got into narrow of a message or spoke to one sort of crowd. He sort of kept a broader message. Right.
Yes. His basic message, and he talked to me about that in my interview. His basic message was to preach that all people are lost, they're all sinners, and they could come to Christ. He said he spoke that all the time, and that's what drew people. He tried to keep it simple. He'd add a little every now and then for a different crowd. He'd tweak it a little bit, but for the most part, it was that simple message, like you said.
Well, like you said, he spoke to a variety of people, from the youth who crowded the altar when he came to speak. He also spoke to presidents, from Dwight Eisenhower to George W. Bush. That president called him America's pastor. Right,
right, right. He was so well known, and I've been watching Twitter ever since I found out Twitter and social media, Facebook, that sort of thing, and that's what people are talking about today. And one of our editors mentioned that he was at Panera Bread, and everybody in there was talking about it, young and old. So this is a big passing, and I think people will be talking about it for a while.
Carla Hinton, our religion editor here at the Oklahoman, will be speaking with the faith community for more on this story, and you can follow that in upcoming editions of the Oklahoman and online at newsok.com. Carla, thanks for your time today.
Sure.